I have just found a whole load of location-based apps that would be great to integrate on a map. Let's go. First up, we have Google Maps and Google Earth. As you probably know, they have a huge amount of data of locations, countries, cities, roads, streets, and out in rural areas as well. Next up, we have Waze, which is also well known for its navigation, just like Google Maps, and it also has a huge amount of city data, locations, roads, streets, and everything like that. Next, we have Here Maps, originally created by Nokia. It also has a huge amount of city and urban data, location data, and it's also well known for its navigation, just like Google Maps and Waze. Next, we have Yandex, which is basically the Russian version of Google. They also have very many of the same sort of apps that Google has, but in particular, we're talking about Yandex Maps. Next, Citymapper, also really well known for its navigation and general public transport information. Next, on a different note, we have Strava, well known for cycling, for cyclists tracking their routes, but also now used for runners and many other sports. Lime, the app many of us know for renting bicycles, scooters, and pretty much all other types of two-wheel transport in cities throughout the world. Runkeeper, as its name implies, is great for runners to keep track of their runs, their routes, but is also used in other sports these days. Runner, just like Runkeeper, is also used by runners to track their routes, their runs, their progress. Garmin, the original GPS maker that became popular for their actual in-car GPSs, but now make really great maps. TomTom, like Garmin, also well known for their GPS units used in cars and other off-road vehicles. Next up, we have Surfline, known for keeping track of the best surf spots just offshore of the best beaches around the world. Next is an app called AllTrails, which, as its name implies, keeps track of a huge amount of off-road, trail-based location data for maps. Similarly, next we have Komoot, which is an app that keeps track of trails and routes that you can cycle on and pretty much all sorts of off-road adventures. Also, there's Outdoor Active, which is similar to Komoot, but is focused more on walkers and hikers and off-road trails to adventure on. Then we have Marine Traffic, which is an app used by companies and non-profit organizations to keep track of ships and vessels and other things that need to be tracked out in the oceans. As we move on to weather, we first up have AccuWeather, which is an app you've probably all heard of. Then, of course, we have the Weather Channel. And lastly, for weather, we have YR, a fantastic app for weather by a little-known Norwegian company. Then we have a game, Geocaching, which gets people outdoors looking for fun little treasures at specific coordinates. Then a game called Ingress, which is made by the same company that made Pokemon Go. It's all about getting out into the real world and looking and using your phone to visit specific locations that are in-game. And of course, Pokemon Go, which is getting kids out into the real world to explore locations that are obviously relevant in the game. Fog of World, which is also a location-based game. Foursquare, not so big anymore, but it used to be a hugely popular app for people to check into specific locations like coffee shops and restaurants and all sorts of other locations. Trainline, an app that helps us keep track of public transport, and including trains, of course, throughout developed and some developing countries. Flight Radar, a well-known app for keeping track of flights, where planes are throughout the world. Global Conflict Tracker, which of course helps us understand where global conflicts are happening. Crisis Watch, which keeps track of humanitarian crises that are happening right now throughout the world. Charity Water, probably the most successful charity I've ever heard of, that brings fresh water to communities and villages throughout Africa and beyond. ZapMap, an app to find the nearest EV charging stations. ChargeMap, also an app to find the nearest EV charging stations. Fishbrain, an app that helps fishermen find the best places to go fishing. MyHunt, an app that can help us understand where hunters have been and are most likely to go. Lonely Planet, the world's most ubiquitous source of travel information. National Geographic, the magazine we're probably all familiar with from our youth, that documents the places in the world that are the most exotic and far that we'd love to see one day. The Halo Trust, an organization that's clearing landmines and other wartime debris from past war zones, wherever they may be. Wikiloc, a wiki, just like Wikipedia, but for location-based information. Move It, an app to find information about public transport. Life 360, an app to keep track of your family, where they are, and other people that are close to you. Airbnb, I'm sure we've all heard of it, the app that's helping people find accommodation and short stays anywhere they need to go throughout the world. Booking.com, similar to Airbnb, the original website that helped people find accommodation and short stays. Lastly, Eventbrite, the ticketing company that helps us buy tickets for concerts and other large events.